Well, education woes hurt a city's economic growth, as you saw from Detroit. Openness and diversity initiatives apparently seem to help these cities a lot as well.
Our next guest has come up with one way to measure all that with what he calls the Gay Index. And he says it proves that the more gay-friendly a city is, the more economic prosperity that city will enjoy. Richard Florida is the author of the book, The Rise of the Creative Class, and the founder of Creative Class Group. Welcome to the program.
Oh, thanks, Christine. It's good to be with you guys.
Well, first, Richard, what qualifies as, I guess, a gay-friendly city? How can a city have gay-friendly policies?
Well, it's not really a set of gay-friendly policies. You know, there are a group of cities that over time have just become more open-minded and open to diversity. And, you know, listening to your last segment, you were talking about places educating their kids. What's happening in places like Detroit, my wife and her family is from Detroit, I lived in Pittsburgh for 17 years, is that they're educating a lot of really smart kids, and those kids are migrating to other cities, whether it's New York or San Francisco.
Because the opportunities aren't there, or the openness is not there for them.
It's both. It's, you know, it's so cool, Ollie. It's opportunity on the one hand, there are good jobs, there's vibrant labor markets, there's a lot going on, but they're also open-minded communities, and they're kind of places these young people want to be. So what happens is they attract all the young talent, and then the companies have to follow.
Fascinating.
It's interesting what you're saying. So you're not talking about the fact that they're attracting necessarily the smart gay kids. You're talking about the fact that open-minded kids will go to the places that are more tolerant generally.
Yeah, I did this work when I was at Carnegie Mellon with a guy named Gary Gates. He's the leading demographer of the gay population in the world at UCLA. And he had built this index of the gay population. I was studying, you know, where highly educated kids in high-tech industries form. We put our two lists together, and I was like, well, the Silicon Valley, bingo, #1 for gays, San Francisco, Silicon Valley. Well, Seattle, where Microsoft is, bingo, #2 for gays and lesbians. Third, Boston with the Route 128, MIT spinoffs, #3 for gays. And we just looked at the list and we're like, oh my God. So then we started to do a more serious study, and it came out places that were open to gay and lesbian people were also the kind of places that could attract not only smart young people, but, you know, Indian and Chinese immigrants who come here and start a lot of high-tech companies. They were attracting people across the board, building up a talent base, and then innovating and starting these new enterprises.
Richard, is it by accident or by design? Which came first? Which came first, the sort of the attitude or the industry, I wonder?
It seems to me that what came first was the attitude. This is a big debate, and there's a lot of people yelling and screaming about this and don't want to believe it. But it seems to me, if you look back, you know, Seattle was an open-minded place with a large gay community, you know, inventing new musicians like Jimi Hendrix or Kurt Cobain and Nirvana. San Francisco and the whole 60s things was a very, and then I think places that, you know, a large gay and lesbian community gravitated to, a large group of musicians and other open-minded people gravitated to. When these kind of geeky entrepreneurs became important economic growth, those were the places that accepted them too. And we've done some really cool stuff now looking at personality research, which seems to show the same thing. Open-minded people gravitate to the same kind of places.
What can you tell us about some of the cities at the end of the bottom of that list, the least gay-friendly places? Pittsburgh, Birmingham, Alabama, Detroit, Buffalo, Charlotte, North Carolina, Oklahoma City. Does your thesis hold true?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I lived in Pittsburgh for 17 years. I taught at Carnegie Mellon. My wife and her family are from Detroit. I also taught at the University of Buffalo a long time ago. So those are all cities I really love. But the problem with those cities is, even though they have a lot of technology assets, you know, once a big auto industry in Detroit, the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor, Carnegie Mellon and the University of Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, that when people graduate, they tend to leave because the place is it's not only an economic vibrancy question, they're just not an open-minded and accepting place. We did a survey with Gallup, and we asked communities all across the country, is your city open to gay and lesbian people, poor people, ethnic minorities? The group that came in dead last, when you asked if the city was open, was talented young people looking for work. So what's happening is young people are picking up this signal, it's not an open city for me, I got to move elsewhere.
Thank you, Richard Florida. The Rise of the Creative Class is the book. Thanks, Richard.